Well, good day. So for today, I would like to delve back into all things Superboy, and to start off a whole topic on the Superboy TV show from 1988. So for today, let's talk about episode 1 from season 1, and down the road I'll talk about some more of the episodes from the series. But until then, for today, let's do the usual thingamaroo. I'll recap the episode, I'll give you my thoughts, and I'll talk some more things about Superboy and all that stuff after. So alright, let's go! So Schuster University students and best friends Clark Kent, Lana Lang, and TJ White are all hanging out at the airport because they're waiting for Lana's father, Professor Thomas Lang, and his assistant Gerald Haynes to arrive. You see, the good professor and his buddy there have been on an archaeological trip, for 2 years, but they found the lost temple of Techacal. Like, this thing is legendary. They're gonna set up an exhibit at the university and all stuff. It's gonna be super fly, man, like really awesome, right? But as they're about to land, the plane's landing gear totally malfunctions. The landing wheels don't extend all the way. They don't salute the flag, So Clark sneaks out of the crowd and changes into his Superboy uniform, flies up to the airplane, and bam! Gently pulls the tire down, to kind of make the landing gear work, and saves the day. It's a good thing he made it down safe, I guess, but man, Lana's really not happy with her dad because he is so entrenched in his archaeological work, and man, she feels completely left out of his life and just kind of abandoned. So right off the bat, we got some pretty good tension. So Clark and TJ work at the university's newspaper, the Schuster Herald, and they pop on down to the Techacal exhibit, to yammer on and have an interview with Professor Lang.
When suddenly,
Bam! Some paranormal crap hits the fan. The place goes berserk. It's tearing itself apart, right? Well, kind of. Turns out it was just a run-of-the-mill random tornado that just flew on by. That tears, inside of the building apart, but not the structure, huh? But Gerald is deeply concerned, man, because the temple had warnings on it. Warnings that stated,
do not desecrate the temple by taking any of the artifacts out of it.
And he's like, my god, what have we done? We need to return these things to the temple. But the professor ain't having none of that, right? Man, it took 2 years to find this stuff, man. Ain't going back now. But Professor Lang, he meets up with Lana again, and he's trying to patch things up between the two of them. Trying to reconnect, trying to make up for lost time. Lana ain't having none of it, she doesn't want to go through that again, but she kind of wants to. Man, sad times, right? I wonder if this will immediately have an impact on the plot, right away. Anywho, so Professor Lang and Gerald, go back to the Techacal exhibit to kind of clean it up and get it ready. But Professor Lang, for some bizarre reason, man, just collapses on the ground. Dude goes into a coma at the hospital, man. Dr. Spencer is totally flabbergasted, right? He's never seen nothing like this. He can't make heads or tails out of it. So Gerald is even more doubly convinced that the curse of the Jewel of Techacal is true. And he's like, holy crap, man. The only thing we can do is return the jewel to the temple to reverse this curse and save the good professor. And Clark is like, yeah, man, I could probably find Superboy and get him to fly that thing down to the temple, So he goes about to do just that. But student body president Lex Luthor and his right-hand idiot boy Leo, they break into the exhibit that is completely world-renowned and has no security guards or anything in place. So I guess if it's that easy to break in, might as well rob the joint, which Lex does. He gets Leo to put priceless artifacts in a duffel bag so he can sell them later, but man, you're putting artifacts in a duffel bag that bang against each other? Don't you want these things to be in good shape to so you can sell them? You're gonna try to sell them piece by piece later, I guess? I don't know. Plus, these are ancient artifacts, man. Show some respect. My inner Indiana Jones is just full of rage at this. Come on, Lex, you're supposed to be smarter than that. Anywho, Superboy waltzes in and he sees that Lex is holding a chest that has the Jewel of Techacal in it, and he's like, yo, what are you doing? He totally ganks it from him and opens up the chest. But there is this crazy powder that comes out of the chest, like it's living or something, and it attacks Superboy, and it totally knocks him out. He's totally down and out, man, so Lex and Leo take off with all the goods. But it's all hip as Superboy comes to, you know, and chases down Lex Luthor in a hot pursuit. But Lex goes all fast and furious, right, and evades Soup and the police until he crashes into a lake. So as Lex and Leo need to deal with the police, Superboy grabs the jewel and flies it all the way back to the temple. And wouldn't you know it, Professor Lang suddenly makes a full recovery from his coma. Man, that's weird. And of course, now that he's conscious and safe, Lana is now willing to make amends, bury the hatchet, and reconnect with her father, so everything ends up all rosy. And with that is the end of this fantastic tale. Well, that was a pretty interesting episode, hey? This Superboy series is actually really awesome, and there are a lot of phenomenal episodes in this series. The featured episode today, isn't really one of them. Like, it's all good and all, like, don't get me wrong, right? But unlike some of the other episodes, like, this one isn't meant to be a yowza wowza and like, oh my god, that was so phenomenal type of an episode. The whole point of this featured episode was just to introduce the characters, right? So, like, the whole story and plot behind it all, you know, the Temple of Techacal and all that stuff really is kind of there, but not really the main focus. Kind of is, kind of isn't. Like, nothing is really fleshed out about the whole Temple of Techacal or anything that of its artifacts. It's just you kind of know really basics about it. I guess if they had more time, they could have, you know, dived into some more kind of aspects of it, but again, the Techacal stuff wasn't the point of the episode. It was just character introduction, right? Like, who the main characters are and all that stuff, and how they act and respond, and, you know, their motivations and stuff like that. Like, you know, Clark Kent and Superman is definitely like the whole Boy Scout kind of personality. TJ, you know, the fun-loving guy who's, you know, pretty happy to be around all of his friends. The passion that Lana Lang has for many things and how emotional she can get over it. Lex being a jerk, but kind of a preppy, you know, snobby kind of a jerk, I guess. And Leo, who is kind of the dumber sidekick, you know, to Lex Luthor, kind of like Otis was in the Superman movies, right? That's all you really need to know about this first episode. That's why all the action and everything else was kind of, you know, subdued a bit. So with that, I've never said anything bad about, you know, a first episode or a first movie in a series, because you're really kind of really building on something, right? And in that aspect, man, this episode nailed it out of the park, I would say. So if you haven't watched this series, you know, I would suggest you do. You probably didn't watch it because it didn't really get a whole lot of syndication after its first run. You know, there was a lot of lawsuits about different things within the show about who owned what characters and all that kind of stuff. But all those lawsuits have ended and been settled, so now you actually can go and watch the show, which is like awesome because it is a great series. And yeah, so let's go see what else we can dig up about Superboy and all that stuff there. So this is the first official live appearance of Clark Kent as Superboy. There was an unofficial live appearance before, and that was a failed pilot from 1961. I thought that pilot was pretty good, but it didn't turn out. I actually did do a video on that pilot before, so if you want to check it out, I will have it linked at the end of this video, so yeah, take a looky-loo there. But this episode was the official first appearance of the Boy of Steel on TV or film or, you know, such media. And in this first season, Superboy was portrayed by John Haymes Newton, so pretty cool for him. So this show was created and produced by Ila and Alexander Salkind, who do know, you know, a thing or two about all things Kryptonian. They were producers of such classic Kryptonian cinema as Superman, the motion picture, Superman 2, and Superman 3. And if I'm being honest, man, I really do like Superman 3. Sure, it was kind of campy and cheesy, but it was fun to watch, right? And that fight scene between evil Superman and Clark Kent at the junkyard? Man, legendary! But for the majority of moviegoers, Superman 3 didn't do too well and wasn't well received. So the Salkinds are like, yeah, maybe we'll just stop here with Superman movies. And they shifted their gears towards making the Supergirl movie, which is a spin-off of Superman 1, 2, and 3 and takes place after Superman 3. But that movie didn't do too well either, unfortunately. So the Salkinds shifted gears again and they went to create this Superboy TV show. The Superboy show is not connected to, you know, the 4 movies there, so that's the only difference, but still pretty awesome. Oh,
And the Salkinds were not part of Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, as they sold off the Superman movie rights, before that, so at least they're not responsible for that mess. So just a super de-duper quick kind of background on the Superboy characters and all that. Superboy himself first appeared in More Fun Comics 101 in 1945. And that was just a quick intro, to Superboy as like the young Kal-El living on Krypton, being put in a rocket and flying out in a boot to Earth, right? And growing up on Earth, as the fine young kid he is today. Lana Lang first showed up in Superboy number 10 in 1950, and that's when she and her family moved next door to Clark Kent and his parents, which is more like a house in town than it was a farm, but that's cool too. Anywho, so she was pretty cool. She was really hell-bent on finding Superboy's true identity. And she and Clark Kent became best friends like right off the bat, so it was pretty awesome. In this show, she's portrayed by Stacey Hayek, who does a wonderful job. TJ White is portrayed by Jim Calvert, and TJ is from Metropolis, and his father is the editor of the Daily Planet, right? Perry White. So nice little tie-in. So this character really isn't, a comic character. So in the comics, Perry White did have a son with Alice Spencer, and the kid's name was Perry White Jr., but he goes by his middle name, Jerry. His name is Perry Jerry White? Nay! It's just Perry Jerome White, but he's not classy enough for Jerome, I guess. So yeah, he goes by Jerry White, and he made his first appearance in Adventures of Superman number 248, and that was in 1987. But turns out his father is really Lex Luthor. Oh, that is a stunning development. But speaking of Lex Luthor himself first popped up in Action Comics number 23 in 1940. With his classic red hair before going all bald and stuff. He was a super criminal genius in the comics, and in this TV show, yeah, he's more of a preppy kid with, juvenile hijinks and small potato soft crime, like gambling and stuff like that. Well, except for stealing ancient artifacts, I guess. And in this first season here, he's portrayed by Scott James Wells. And the whole setup of the show is pretty neat, right? Because we've had Superboy in the comics who actually is a high school student who lives in Smallville, whereas in this show, it's set in Schusterville, which I think is supposed to be in Florida, but it's more of a young adult Clark, attending university. And it's set up pretty much as a copy of the Superman Metropolis situation, with Clark being a reporter, not at the Daily Planet, but at the Schuster Herald. TJ White is the photographer, so he's kind of a stand-in for Jimmy Olsen. Lana Lang is kind of more herself, but she is a pretty good investigator, so she is somewhat a stand-in for Lois Lane as well. Not really quite, though. So this show is actually a pretty cool transition piece and a quasi-amalgamation of Clark's story between Smallville and Metropolis, right? It kind of has a bit of both worlds in it. But other than that, I do have a whole lot more information on Superboy and Superboy characters in TV and comics in my other videos, like I said, my Superboy pilot video or my Superboy Bizarro videos. So if you want to get more of a story of the series, I'd say check those out. And yeah, so that's pretty much that for now. Pretty good episode to start things off with, and I guess we'll see how the rest of the series develops after this. But yeah, so other than that, I guess for now, that's that. Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, feel free to do so. Or anything else, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, have a great day. Thanks.